Hi, so I think I'm playing The Wisdom and or Madness of Crowds. This is made by Nikki Case in 2018. I'll link everything down below. So let's play. So Isaac Newton was pretty sure he was a smart cookie. I mean, after inventing calculus and the theory of gravity, you should be clever enough to some financial investing, right? All my things together, that's cool. Anyway, long story short, he lost 4,600,000 in today's dollars in a nationwide speculation frenzy known as the South Sea Bubble of 1720. As Miss Newton said later, I can calculate the motion of heavenly bodies, but not the madness of people. Yeah, it sucks for him. Of course, that's not the only time markets, institutions, or entire democracies went haywire. The madness of crowds, and yet, just when you lose hope in humanity, you see citizens coordinating to rescue each other in hurricanes, communities creating solutions to problems, people fighting for a better world. The wisdom of crowds. But why do some crowds turn to madness or wisdom? No theory can explain everything, but I think a few field studies, network science, can guide us. And its core idea is this. You understand crowds, we should not look at the individual people, but at their connections. Let's draw a network. Okay. Each connection represents a friendship between two people. So if I want to get rid of networks, I do that. Alright. It's like a little like spider. Well, it's got long round legs, but yeah. Continue. Now, social connections are more than just making pretty pictures. People look at their social connection to understand their world. For example, people look at their peers to find out what percent of their friends, not counting themselves, as say binge drinkers. So we need to draw and erase connections and see what happens. Make it to you, your binge drinker. Okay, I got it. So it loses percentage. So I think that means that they become influenced. How networks can fool people just as how the earth seems flat. Because we're on it. People may get wrong ideas about society because they're in it. They say that first off, not this in this book, it's a good book. Tsuraki was trying to tackle the question, I am, why do some crowds turn to madness? His answers, crowds make good decisions when everybody's independent as possible. He gives the story to County Fair, townsfolk. So they're going to try and find a sweet spot in between that. For example, for example, the 1991 study showed that virtually all college students report that their friends rank more than they did. But that seems impossible. How can it be? Well, you're about to invent the answer yourself by drawing a network. It's time to fool everyone. Fool everyone thinking the majority of their friends, 50% thresholders, are binge drinkers. I messed up. Wait, I want to erase all these. So if you know that person, 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 is that person, you know that person. You know that person, you know that person, that person. Your friends are only these people. Your friends are these people. Your friends are only these people. Your friends only this guy. And this guy. And this guy. Your friends are only these people. Huh. One, two, three. I'm confused. Maybe this person. Wait, maybe this person drinks that person, and that person. Makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 9. Maybe if they're only 33% sure. He's 100% sure. He's 100% sure. Gotta give him all of the line. Aha! I manipulated a group of students to believe in the prevalence of an incredibly unhealthy social norm. It's a good thing. Cheers, I guess. What you just created is a majority illusion, which also explains why their political views are consensus, or why extremism seems more common than it actually is. Madness. So what other kind of connections are there? There's directional connections. So like, if there's a boss, a parent, they're directional. Weighted connections. If your acquaintances and best friends forever, there's going to be a difference. You're obviously going to believe more the best friends forever. And they're wrong, but they help us understand things. People don't just passively observe others' ideas and behaviours, they actively copy them. So now let's take a look at something network scientists call contagious. Let's put aside a threshold for now. Below we have a person with some information, some misinformation, fake news, as all the kids say. All the kids say. And every day, that person spreads a rumour like a virus to their friends. And they spread it to their friends and so on. You can start a simulation. So he spreads it to them, he spreads it to them, he spreads it to them, and they all spread it to each other. Despite the negative name contagion, could go that bad or neutral ambiguous, the strong statistical evidence, smoking, health, happiness, voting patterns, and cooperation levels are all contagious, and even some evidence that death in some ways are too, and it's depressing. Indeed, it is. Anyways, puzzle time. Draw a network and run the simulation so everyone gets infected with the contagion. You can't cut the thick connections, so I can't cut these ones. So if I go to them, who goes to them, who goes to them? Hey. So it's really easy basically. If one person convinces one person that group, then the whole group's convinced. The madness spreading is called information cascade. Mr. Newton fell for such a cascade in 1720. The world's financial institution fell for such a cascade in 2008. However, the simulation is wrong. Most ideas don't spread like viruses, for many beliefs and behaviours need to be exposed to the contagion for more than just once in order to be infected. So network scientists have come up with a new, better way to describe ideas and behaviours spread, as they call it. Let's bring back thresholds and the binge drinking. When you played this for the first time, people didn't change their behaviour. Now, let's simulate what happens if people start drinking what 50% of their friends do. Before you start the sim, ask yourself, what do you think should happen? I think that Elle will drink. Unlike our fake news contagion, this contagion does not spread like for everyone. The first few people get infected, although they're not exposed to one binge drinker. That binge drinker is 50% of their friends. Yeah, lonely. In contrast, the person near the end of the chain did not get infected because they were exposed to a binge drinking friend, not past the 50% threshold. The relative percent of infected friends matter. That's the difference between complex contagion theory and our naive spread it like virus simple contagion theory. You could say simple contagious or just contagious with more than 0% infection threshold. However, contagions aren't necessarily bad. So enough about crowd madness. What about crowd wisdom? Here we have a person who volunteers to, I don't know, rescue people in hurricanes or tutor underprivileged kids in the local community or something cool like that. The point is, it's a good complex contagion. This time, let's take the threshold, there's only 25%. People willing to volunteer, but if only 25% more of their friends do so, hey, goodwill needs a bit of social encouragement. So you want to do it, 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 and you want to do it. Volunteering is just one of many complexes of contagions. Basically, I just linked them all to the main person. Others include voter turnout, lifestyle habits, and challenging your beliefs, taking time to understand an issue deeply. Anything that needs more than one exposure, complex contagions aren't necessarily wise, but being wise is a complex contagion. So what's a real life simple contagion? Usually bits of trivia like the positive effect of nipples. All the kinds of contagion are there's contagion randomness, so being exposed isn't guaranteed to being infected, it's only more likely. People have different contagion thresholds, so they may be influenced more than others. And the ecology of contagions. So, depending on what they would believe in, they may be more or less contagious. They may more or less get it. Contagion, mutate, and evolve. Ideas evolve over time. Now, to really show the power of weirdness, complex contagion, let's revisit an earlier puzzle. Remember this time with complex contagion is a bit tougher. Try and infect everyone with complex wisdom. So they're fine. Now you may think that you just need to keep having connections to spread contagion, complex or simple, good or bad, wise or mad. But is that really so? Let's revisit another earlier puzzle. The contagion will just spread to everyone as by that, but let's do the opposite of everything we've done before. Draw an arrow to prevent it from spreading to everyone. See, while more connections will always help the spread of simple ideas, more connections can hurt the spread of complex ideas. This isn't just theoretical problem, it's a matter of life. So if everyone in the friend group believes something and one person says something other, if you've got connections that believe differently, you're less easily influenced. This can be a matter of life or death. The people of NASA were smart cookies. That mean they used Newton theories to get us to the moon. Anyway, long story short, in 1986, despite warnings from engineers, they launched Challenger, which blew up and killed 7 people. The immediate cause, it was too cold that morning. The less immediate cause, the managers ignored engineers' warnings. Why? Because they're groupthink. So they all got influenced together. When the group is too closely knit, as they tend to be at the top of institutions, they become resistant to complex ideas that challenge their beliefs or ego. So that's how institutions can fall to crowd madness. But how can we design for crowd wisdom? Sure, it's bonding and bridging. Too few connections, the idea can't spread. Too many connections, you get groupthink. Draw a group that hits the right sweet spot. Okay. Simple. The number of connections within a group is called bonding. Special capital. What does it mean about connection between groups? So not everyone should be connected. To be able to guess number of connections between a group is called bridging social capital. This is important because it helps groups break out then through their echo chambers. Build a bridge to affect everyone with a complex wisdom. So basically, if your group is like bond, there's a sweet spot for bridging too. So basically, it's got to have a group that's not just all the same opinions. You could have people with different opinions so that you don't get as easily influenced and just completely believe something. And same with other bridges. So to influence a group to another group, you should see other groups with different opinions so that you don't completely, leave all on the same thing. So we're going to try doing within and between groups. Draw connections within the groups and between the groups to spread the wisdom to the whole crowd. There you go. Congrats, you just found a very special kind of network. Networks with the right mix of bonding and bridging are profoundly important. They're called small world networks. Unity without uniformity, diversity without division, ea pluribus unum, out of many one. No matter how it's phrased, people across time and cultures often arrive at the same piece of wisdom. A healthy society is a sweet spot for bonds within groups and bridges between groups, and that's it. So this, no, but this, no, but this, yes. So it's good to have small groups that communicate and think between each other, not just one giant group and not just a bunch of tiny groups. Network scientists have now have mathematical definition for this ancient wisdom called the small world network. This optimal mix of bonding and bridging describes how our neurons are connected, fosters collective creativity and problem solving, and even once helped the US President John F. Kennedy barely avoid nuclear war. So small words are a big deal. So let's wrap this up. In conclusion, it's all about contagions and connections. Contagions like how neurons pass signals in a brain, people pass beliefs and behaviours in a society. Not only do we influence our friends, we also influence our friends' friends, even our friends' friends' friends. Be the change you want to be in the world, etc. But like neurons, it's not just the signals that matter, it's also connections. Too few connections and complex ideas can't spread. Too many connections and complex ideas get crushed by groupthink. The trick is to build a small world network, optimal mix of bonding and bridging, a pluribus unum. So what about the questions from the very beginning? Why do some crowds turn to wisdom or to madness? So it's important to have a good balance. From Newton to NASA to network science, we've discovered a lot here today. Long story short, the madness of crowds is not necessarily due to the individual people, but due to how we're trapped to the network's sticky web. That does not mean abandoning personal responsibility, for we are also weavers of that web. So improve your contagions, be skeptical of the ideas that flatter you, spend time understanding complex ideas, and improve your connections. Bond with similar folk, but also build bridges across cultural and political divides. We can weave a wise web. Sure, it's hard and do the glance on the screen, but it's so worth it. So basically, don't be influenced by everything, keep an open mind, and be ready for people's different opinions. The great tragedies of the world are caused not by people fundamentally good or bad, but by people fundamentally being fundamentally people. Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman. And there we go, that was it. I hope you enjoyed this, and it was really interesting in my opinion, and I feel like you should look into it because I feel like I learned a lot. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!